The British interest is with Vicky Holland at number 15, Non-Stanford with 28, Emma Pallant at 30, and Sophie Colwell, who has number 65. And we have a total of 66 lined up, ready to dive into the Serpentine. This countdown was a tense moment for the athletes as they prepare to enter the water to kick things off here.
Very large black strap.
Serpentine, 40 acres, created in 1730. Serpentine Bridge marks the boundary between the Serpentine and the Long Water, which spreads into Kensington Gardens. So now, silence as we get the final drum roll and countdown to the start of round 6 of the 2015 World Triathlon Series. Can it be a golden double for a British triathlon following Alistair's victory in the men's? Can Non-Stanford compete with Gwen Jorgensen? Can Vicky Holland back up the brilliant results she achieved in Cape Town? Here we go. We're about to find out. 750 meters in the water, a 20k ride and a 5k run. Clean start, no obvious false starts there, and away they go for a single lap. Into the wind here. It's quite a tough start because the wind is freshening and they dive straight into that Hyde Park breeze, Annie Emerson.
Well, yeah, it's a tricky old swim here today. Very chilly conditions, and as we saw in the men's race, they are hitting this 750 meters from the start really fast, and that's vitally important if they're going to get any gap at all. We didn't really see any major breaks in the men's race. In the women's, we tend to see a little bit more. There's a bit more of a difference between the front swimmers, the fast swimmers, and the slower swimmers.
Was that a full start? Somebody seemed to go a fraction early. We'll try and find out exactly who that was and find out if that was officially classified as a full start, in which case there will be a penalty to pay. So the air temperature is a rather cool 16 degrees, water temperature 15 degrees. London yet to really bask in its summer sunshine, although we're promised that the weather will improve the middle of next week and we'll have temperatures more fitting for this time of year, up into the mid-20s, fingers crossed. But it's a cold afternoon for athletes and spectators alike. So it's a sprint distance again. Remember when they raced here for the Olympics, it was of course the Olympic distance, 1500, 40, 10. The sprint distance, which is much more favourable to racing both the men and the women the same day, is half of that, so 750 metres in the water, 20 k's on 2 wheels, and then a 5,000 metre run around the park to finish. The people are out now, the weather conditions have dried up, people are out enjoying the view from in front of the Lido, from the cafe there, and a few keen recreational swimmers out enjoying an afternoon's dip. 65 out towards the front of the field is Sophie Caldwell from Great Britain. Now she's somebody who finished well in the World Juniors a couple of years ago. She's somebody that I know that British Triathlon are keeping their eyes on, a bright prospect for the future.
Yeah, Sophie Colwell, she had that fantastic race at the Sprint National Championships last year where Gwen Jorgensen raced, and Sophie Colwell certainly got the better of her on the swim and the bike, but was ran down by Gwen. But Sophie finishing second place there behind Gwen. So, you know, she knows what it's like to race Gwen. She's been there and done it, but certainly a great swim and biker. Yeah,
4th at the Junior Worlds last year as well, and now part of the Loughborough group, originally from Nottingham, but training at Loughborough now. We've also got Emma Pallant, who had a decent result in Cape Town. Emma, she's in the field today, 10th in Cape Town, hoping to improve upon that. And they are joined by Non-Stanford, the 2015 World Champion, and by 2013 World Champion, I beg your pardon, and by Vicky Holland, who had her first World Triathlon Series win in Cape Town just a few weeks ago. Now they come to the first turn. It'll be interesting to see who comes round this first, clear of any trouble. There's a massive bunch behind as orange swim caps come together. You want to be careful you don't get pushed under the buoy and out of contention. A wider line can sometimes be beneficial. You can see the buoy getting bumped by the swimmers' arms. They kick their way out of trouble. One or two went under, and you can stall and lose 7 or 8 places as the swim gets a little tasty.
Yeah, that really is the beauty of being a fast swimmer. You get away from all that chop and all that mess and bashing around when you do hit the first buoy. It does get very messy. You get some painful knocks, goggles come flying off. But hopefully they've all safely made it round that first buoy now as they round the third buoy and head back up the lake.
Gwen Jorgensen looking for 10 victories in a row. She hasn't started all of the World Triathlon Series races in the last 12 months, but every one she's started of the last 9, she's won, and she is very much the triathlete to watch. If she comes out near the front of the swim or even halfway down the field and rides sensibly on 2 wheels and arrives in transition after the 20k ride within a minute or so of the lead, then she still goes into the run, the final stage, as the favourite. But of course, Norm Stanford, we know, is a superb runner as well, and is slowly but surely making her way back from her injury layoff with that one race in Yokohama, finished 7th there.
Carolina Routier from Spain leading the swim, familiar sight, very, very strong swimmer, great biker, still needing to do a bit of work on her run. Boyfriend is Mario Mola, so perhaps he can give her a few tips, but Carolina Routier from Spain leading the swim here in Hyde Park at the moment.
So no false start. It's been confirmed by the jury that it was a clean start. No false starts. No one will take a penalty for an early dive into the water as Carolina Routier of Spain starts to move up the pace a little here. 31 just behind her. Too far off the pace is Margit Vanek from Hungary. She is struggling to match the pace of Carolina Routier. We'll get a full check with 300 metres to go. We'll get a full check on who's done what during the 750 metres swim lap as they come up in front of Lansbury's Lido on the southern bank of the Serpentine. Number 2 is Katie Zafiris from the United States of America. Now, she's been playing second fiddle to Jorgensen, her teammate, a couple of times this season. Second behind Jorgensen in Abu Dhabi. Runner-up to Jorgensen again in Auckland. And then she was part of that clean sweep that the Americans put in the Gold Coast race, where Jorgensen won. Sarah True, formerly Sarah Groff, was second. And Katie Zafiris was there again in third. She's been consistent, Katie Zafiris, adding a second place in Cape Town. She really needs Gwen Jorgensen to have a mechanical issue really on the bike. Zafiris to have any sort of chance of overhauling Jorgensen's domination on the run.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard to see anyone being able to match Gwen on the run here. Just so strong, and we're not talking seconds but minutes faster than the majority of the rest of the field. Certainly over 10k and 5k, they'd be needing a minute and a half going out of transition after the bike. And then we see a picture of Gwen Jorgensen, quite a choppy stroke, very fast turnover, but certainly holding her own. And looking back, sitting at around about 10th place, so certainly holding her own on the swim here.
Yeah, Jorgensen not too far removed from the leading swimmer, which is Carolina Routier. Only about 6 or 7 seconds adrift, so solid start for the American. Had a crash in front of Buckingham Palace a couple of years ago, Gwen Jorgensen, but these days the bike course doesn't leave the park, it stays within the confines of Hyde Park. Jorgensen will be happy with that, especially with the roads being wet. She was done by a wet road last time she came off her bike out on the streets of London. Drying out nicely here this afternoon, although looking above, you know, we might still get a shower. Some threatening grey clouds beginning to gather above the park, and that could add an extra dimension to this race, especially during the 20Ks that they spend on two wheels. If the road surface gets down, if the rain comes down and affects their visibility, then things could be interesting, to say the least.
They could, and racing in London is always a bit difficult when you're racing on roads where there have been a lot of cars. If you get a bit of oil and wet, it can be lethal on a bike. It certainly can. We saw a few of the age groupers come off earlier this morning, but these guys very experienced on the bike. At the moment, the roads are dry, so let's keep our fingers crossed that they stay that way.
Got the added speed bumps to deal with as well, as Routier, who looks absolutely relaxed in the water, flowing from stroke to stroke, just pops her head out, has a look, makes sure she's heading in the right direction, looking for that blue exit point, and she will be first to arrive in transition if all goes according to plan. She just had to dart the right side of that buoy. Now that was interesting. The kayaker pointed her in the right direction. She looked like she was going to go swimmers left of the buoy, but of course she had to go swimmers right. Luckily that the kayaker was there just to make sure she took the right course. Routier could have blown it, but it's okay. No damage done. She's lost maybe a little bit of ground, but it won't make any difference at all as she comes out of the water first. In second position, Margit van Eck from Hungary. And then Sophie Colbert, the first of the British contingent. Sarah True of the USO behind her. Gaia Perron and Yuka Sato follow. Then there's a bit of a gap, another 6, 7, 8 seconds to Natalie van Koveren of Australia, out in 7th. Jolanda Annen, followed by Sarah Village, Anja Knapp next, then Rebecca Robisch, the two Germans, Ackermann and Penno. No sign of Holland and no sign of Stanford just yet. Sarah Ambro coming out in 15th, followed by Gillian Backhouse and Aileen Reid from Ireland, Densham, Jackson Spence of New Zealand, Lindemann, Willem Michel. We did have 3 or 4 guys who lost their transponders when they were swimming in the men's race, and therefore when they came out of the water it didn't register. So we'll keep an eye, and because I've yet to see the name of non-Stanford come past, nor Vicky Holland coming out 48 seconds down. Holland is officially nearly a minute off the pace coming out of the water, so not a good swim for Vicky Holland.
No, it's been an interesting swim. It's a lot more broken up than I'd expect to see for a 750-metre swim. Vicky Holland 48 seconds down. That's unusual. Her swim's strong. We could normally expect to see her out of the water somewhere in the very much in the front pack. Non-Stanford still a little bit of work to do on her swim, but she's also strong. I did notice that Andrea Hewitt just getting on her bike there from New Zealand, the ever consistent Andrea Hewitt, she's a little bit down too. So this is a good bunch of athletes to be with, good bikers in this second pack. And just getting a glance right at the back of non-Stanford now, just getting on a bike just over the mount line.
Meanwhile, the leaders are deep into lap 1, led by the Spaniard Carolina Routier. Some are still mounting up at the edge of transition. Quite a lot of congestion as the back markers came in. It was all a bit busy in transition, to say the least. They're on their way. Lap number 1. We've got Routier and we've got Jorgensen. Gwen Jorgensen wearing the golden number 1 on her upper arm, looking for 10 in a row. The champion of the world is up with the front group. That's been a terrific swim from Gwen Jorgensen.
Well, yeah, I think the days of sort of saying that Gwen had a bit of a dodgy swim, that she wasn't quite up there, have long gone, because this season so far she's proved us that she doesn't have any problems staying with the leaders in the swim, and today's a prime example. She was virtually on the feet of Carolina Routier, who is absolutely a swim specialist, and she was right up there with Carolina, so there's no chinks in Gwen's armour, let's say.
So they've made the turn at the top of the park at the northern end at Lancaster Gate, and Jorgensen leads them through. She's got some solid company there. 33 is Carolina Routier, who led them out of the water. 31, Margit van Eck of Hungary, another solid swimmer. Jorgensen able to tuck in towards the back of this group of about 8, maybe conserve her energy slightly. Number 2, Katie Zafiris of the United States of America. Sarah True might be with this group as well.
Yeah, we saw Sarah True in there, Matt. She's definitely in there. She's around about 4th, just sitting in the middle of our picture just now. So the top 3 Americans are well up there in this front pack. Now,
we had an American clean sweep, remember, in the Gold Coast race. Jorgensen, True, Zafiris. That is looking possible again today. All right, very early stages. and there's lots that can happen, and plenty of riders further back who will be hoping to close the gap and join this lead group. But an American 1, 2, 3, looking at who's in this front group, is certainly not out of the question here.
No, absolutely not. I mean, what's going to be interesting is what Sophie Colebourne going to do, because we know even though she's not experienced